We're here. Can you hear us, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls?
I don't think boys and girls
brothers and
listen to our
sisters.
show.
Brothers and sisters, welcome to the Sean and Sax show. Welcome to another episode. We wanted to take a minute on this episode and a couple minutes and talk about All In. You hear us reference this. We've talked about it. We've hashtagged it. We've shared it. In fact, if you're watching this, babe, you can't see us now, but babe, do it. Go grab it and put it up for everybody on the video. Sax had this really cool sign made. Look at that thing. It's fantastic. All In. So we wanted to take a few minutes here and talk about this because this came to Saxony and I about a year ago. And actually, I'm going to back up even more than that. So before Saxony and I met, I've been running the Lion's Den for 10 years, coaching group for 10 years. Right. Now I was in a relationship prior to this and not married, and I've always had in the back of my mind, it's just been this really interesting thing for me personally. I've always known and had this really innate feeling that the business conversation, the business coaching, this was easy. The get your life in order, power, passion, purpose, and production, core 4, this was the simple game. And that might sound weird to people, but if you don't know what I'm talking about, I started a coaching group 10 years ago called the Lion's Den, and we've had over 40,000 people come through that now. But in my mind and in my soul, I always knew that there was something bigger to this, that there was going to be something bigger to this. And it was always about relationships. And it's interesting because I was in a relationship that was not a very functioning good one. I'm not going to talk shit on it because we've both had
part of the education
part
system.
Of the education, right? But it was never a place that All In could ever be born, let alone materialize and grow. And so I always knew and always felt in my soul I really, really, really wanted to play a bigger game, and I really wanted. I love the conversation around relationships. It's always been
But why?
My
Explain
thing.
why, because it's a really powerful reason of the why.
Well, there's a number of reasons. Number one, because it's the most difficult. Mm-hmm. It's the most difficult. If you guys think about core 4 is what we talk about with Lions Not Sheep. It's what we teach. Power, passion, purpose, and production. Power is the body. Passion is relationship. Purpose is your mindset, your spirituality. And then production is your business. Power, your body, it's a solo gig. You handle that on your own. It doesn't matter if the market is up or down, left or right. It doesn't matter if it's rainy or sunny, if you live in Alaska or you live in fucking Cuba. Your body is your body. You're in complete control of that, right? Your mentality, the same thing. Purpose, your mindset, your connection to God, it's a solo game. It's you versus you. Production, there's some things in there. The market can go up, the market can go down, things can affect your business, employees, the whole thing. But passion, relationships, it's you choosing another person to build a big game with. Mm-hmm. And there are so many variables there. And it's been the most difficult, in my opinion, for so many people. It's really easy to get ripped, but you have a shitty marriage. It's easy to make a bunch of money, but you're a fat sack of shit. Passion for me is one of the most fun parts of life.
Right.
And I don't know if this is the answer. There's probably 20 answers I could give here, but if you have direction, babe, that you think I should go or an answer you're looking for, then tell me and I'll talk about it. But passion to me is the most exciting aspect of core 4 because it involves this other person. I love being married. I love love. I love connection. I think it's the bigger game. It's how you rewrite an entire story. You know what I mean? Your mom and dad raised you a certain way. Your mom and dad raised you, all this other stuff. I get to literally rewrite history. I get to rewrite a history book. I get to create a completely new future for my family. Mm-hmm. My father showed up this way. I show up a different way. My parents showed up this way. I show up a different way. I have the ability to literally alter the course of humanity by my relationship and my marriage. Mm-hmm. And it's something that I've been very, very passionate about, and something that as Saxony and I were dating, you heard me talk about this when we were dating.
Oh, yeah.
Right? I talked about this a lot when we were dating. I just knew that the big game was going to be bigger. And it was something that I truly, truly, truly wanted, was to have that queen with me by my side in this conversation, in this world, in this life, right?
Yeah, the only thing what I was alluding to with you is what this does and the effects it has on the family and the home, and how that ripples into our entire collective.
Yeah, sure.
And so it's like the relationship of in a marriage, that's the spearhead of so many ripples of what that will bring.
Right.
Positivity and connection and health
Right.
and strength and power and all of these wonderful things that, in my opinion, as a woman, as a mother, that the world needs right now more than ever.
I don't remember who it was, but there was somebody in the Mormon church that said one time, I think this is a brilliant, brilliant, brilliant quote, no success can compensate for failure in the home.
Yeah. 100%.
And I believe that. Mm-hmm. There's no financial success that I can have or attain in life that will compensate for me failing as a father. Mm-hmm. There's no, accolade that I can go earn and win that will compensate for me failing as a husband. There's literally nothing that I could do in life that will triumph and trump more and overshadow me failing as a father, as a patriarch. And so to me, it's the biggest game. Mm-hmm. It's the biggest game. It's the most important game. It's the most important game that I'll play here on earth, is that of husband, that of father, that of patriarch. And so to me, like, as we dated and as we got married, like, we went through our shit, and I think part of what's driven me so much on this conversation and why launching All In now and having this conversation specifically is because it's number one, it's so needed in the world, but number two, it pushes me further than I've ever gone. It makes me become a different person. It makes us become different people to a level that we've never gone. Mm-hmm. Because the truth of the matter is, guys, like, as you're listening to this podcast, it's really scary to do a podcast, period. Most people won't do a podcast, period. Now do one with your spouse and talk about sex and intimacy and feelings and emotions and co-parenting and our past and our triggers and our trauma.
Take.
Yeah, we don't retake this. There's no script. If you're watching this, there's no whiteboard of talk about these things. There's no teleprompters. This is Sean and Sax raw as shit. Well, Sax always had notes.
In the beginning, I needed that
she was
just because my ADD.
Sax was terrified, and so she had a little whiteboard that would have like her notes on it.
Remember what we're doing.
But this is like raw, like opening up your relationship and your truth there is really, really, really intimidating. Now, most people say, "Who cares?"
But it's not just intimidating; it's so enriching. And then once you break past the fear, that's where you discover that.
And this is something that I wanted to talk about on this topic and why All In is important. And a lot of people feedback to me this conversation, well, why do I just keep my life private, right? Move in silence. There's all these fucking quotes out there about, move in silence and all this other bullshit. But the truth of the matter is, like, if there aren't examples of goodness, then how do you get examples of goodness? If there aren't men out there winning in business and in life and in love, sharing that shit, then who is? Like, where are the examples for our kids? I want to be that example. Mm-hmm. I want my children to be vulnerable. I want my kids to be open. I want my kids to do scary shit. And them watching me do scary shit is the only thing I know how to do. That's the only way I can set the example. And so a lot of people are like, oh, well, you don't need to share this and you don't need to talk about this and you don't. Fuck you. I don't give a shit. Like, I choose to do this, and this, like, even this podcast, I'll never forget. My good friend Garrett White said when I started this podcast with Sax, he's like, dude, doing a podcast with your wife will stretch you more than really anything else you can do, because you have one or two choices. We can fake this fucking shit, and we can show up on the show and be like, oh yeah, our life is fucking great and everything's awesome. Buy our shit, buy our shit, buy our shit, buy our shit. Or we can just, like, literally sit down and have a conversation and talk about real shit. Our real worlds, our real feelings, our real emotions. We've had a lot of emotions on this podcast. We've had some podcasts that, we went a couple months without even doing one because we were, like, literally damn near on the verge of divorce.
Yeah.
And our very first episode back from that, like, we were like, the title was "So We Didn't Get Divorced."
Yeah.
And we talked about it. We talked about the insanity that we went into and where God took us.
It's in their top 3.
Yeah.
Of all of them.
And so that's why, like, having this conversation around All In, it's been forefront of my mind. It's been forefront of my heart. It's been on my heart for a long time. And I love this conversation so much because it's, as a father and as a patriarch, watching my children, like, I want my kids to have what we have. I want them to have better than we have. Mm-hmm. I want them to have a home and to have safety and to have security and to have vulnerability and to have truth and to have transparency. And so that's why I choose and we choose to live our life the way that we do. And so Sax and I, a year ago, well, we've been talking about it since we were dating, but a year ago we started really diving deeper. It was longer, but we started getting real serious about the conversation of all in, because that's really been our challenge to ourselves, is all in, being all in. From when we were dating, it was like, this is literally the thesis of our marriage.
It is.
This is the theme of our marriage. All in with Sean and Sax.
Yes.
It's like, how do you play this game all in? How do you build a huge business and a huge marriage and have wild fucking sex and deep connection and do that in front of the world and do that
while
for us,
blending teenagers.
Yeah, while having 5 kids and dogs and the whole thing. Like, how do you do that? And like, that's really been our thesis, is being all in. And so we decided to name, this next chapter of our world, the next chapter of our life, of our future, of our business, one of, building what we're doing and expanding on what we're doing, all in with Sean and Sax.
Absolutely.
And so here in the next little bit, guys, we are going to be unfurling, what am I saying? What's the word I'm looking for? Unveiling. That's the word I'm looking for. Our retreats, our coaching, our groups, everything that we're doing. We're gonna start doing date night with Sean and Sax, where we're literally gonna start doing a tour around the country, and we're gonna do an event that you guys can come to, where it's literally, fellas, you're welcome. I'm helping you out here. Just newsflash, fellas. If we're coming to your town and you don't really know what to do for date night, get tickets to date night with Sean and Sax. I promise your wife will freaking thank you and will like you, and it'll be a great thing. But like, we want desperately to continue our depth and our relationship, and I can't think of any other way to do it than by stretching us. And I say this because this has been stretching for us. This has been a long time coming. We've talked and talked and talked, and I think it's scared both of us, would you agree, to a level where it was like, to go down this path, you have to become radically vulnerable, like radically transparent and radically honest. And we both know that is where we live and where we operate, but this is also something that we take incredibly seriously.
Yes, thank you for saying that, because that's what I was waiting for. There has been, we've been talking about this for some time, as most of you know, but it is so important to us, to where it's like, we don't want to just throw it out there and hope it's this. Like, it means so much to us. It's a baby that we've created and that we're going to grow, and we only want it to enrich everyone involved to that same intense, passionate, connected, vulnerable, rip you wide open, expose all the things you don't want to look at or do want to look at, and then take you to levels that I can speak to this personally, I didn't even know existed until I walked through those doors, and I would never, ever, ever want to go back. I would never. I'm grateful that I had the bravery to walk forward and keep walking forward through those things, because our marriage now, I mean, and I know there's still things that I have no idea even exist still. And I can guarantee that will continue to happen, because that's the focus. That's
been our desire, is when you talk about being all in, what does that mean? For us, all in is just, it's completely naked. And I think I know that the thing that terrifies most human beings is being totally naked. And I'm not just talking about your ding dong and your boobies hanging out. I'm talking about naked. I'm talking about vulnerable. I'm talking about being all in. The emotion, the psychological, the spiritual, the physical. Like, there's something innately terrifying about this, but yet there's something wildly exciting for me that has
but those two,
pushed.
What you just said right there, those are the same basically vibration. And that's where it was funny. That's funny you said that. We were totally,
hand me that drink, please?
We were totally vibing on the same level there. That's exactly it. Once that, it's like you can radiate at this small level, in this small sphere, but when you start growing, it's like it's endless. And the joy and the excitement and the like, holy shit, this is incredible. It keeps expanding, but you must go inward and you must go deep in order to go high, right? And that's just that expansion in all levels. But that being terrified is the same as being excited. It's the same, like, oh my gosh.
Well, that's why for us right now, like, it's time. We've talked about this Q3. We were talking about it. I mean, we were talking about it all last year, and I think God threw us through the ringer in 2023 in a way that really helped strengthen us in different ways than we probably were anticipating. For me, I wasn't anticipating 2023 to be the year that it was. I wasn't anticipating having some of the struggles that I had on a lot of different fronts.
Sure.
But I will say that it fortified my union with you, and
100.
it deepened my connection and my relationship with you in ways that I could have never imagined. Would you agree with that?
1,000%.
And that's why for us right now, like launching this all-in experience on every facet, from, you know, date night with Sean and Sax, to the all-in couples retreats down in Mexico, to the group and the coaching and all that other stuff. Like it's more exciting and more terrifying than I probably have words to be able to orate. But I will say this, the one thing that I am absolutely sure of is, no matter who's listening to this, it doesn't matter who you are. You could have a dope ass marriage. Your sex life is great. We connect, we talk, whatever. This is not something where we're like, hey, if you're on the ropes getting ready to get divorced, we're here to save you.
Nope.
What we're talking about is there's another level. There's another level to everything. There's another level. If you have a dope ass marriage, there's another level to it. If you guys are on the ropes, there's another level to it. If you guys are literally with another human being in a marriage, there are levels that we don't even understand yet. But what I will say is that we have the audacity, and I truly believe this, and this is what 2023 really showed me, is that we have the audacity to go down into these holes and explore and figure them out and pull off the Band-Aids and open up the doors to find more. And that's one thing I love about us. That's one thing I love about you, is that a lot of people don't know this. In fact, I'll share this. It's just popped in my mind. For Sax's birthday, before we got married, you know what I'm talking about. We weren't married, but we had both started kind of our own individual journeys into the plant medicine world with ayahuasca, and we had both found our own shamans, and we were journeying, you know, doing our own thing, and we'd kind of come together and talk about these experiences that we were having. And for Sax's birthday, before we got married, I said, hey, I'm gonna get you a birthday present. Let's journey together. I'm gonna bring in my shaman. Like, let's do ayahuasca together. Like, let's do this. Let's have this experience together. Because I can't think of a more vulnerable, naked place to be with your lover than there. And you agree. And that was really, as I look back at a lot of our experience together, that was a very pivotal point for me, where it was like, this was the only human being that I had ever, I'd never done this before with anybody. I'd never wanted to get that naked before. And it was like, hey man, if we're gonna see if this bitch is gonna work, if, like, not you, but like this fucking marriage and this relationship, but if we're gonna see if this shit's gonna work, we should get naked. And I can't think of any other way than to literally get fully naked with you. And
all right,
and it's where it's what, like, one of the really great stories of our union and our connection. But it's important to us, and it's the journey that we're on. And that's really what All In to me is, but the invitation for people to kind of join us in this journey. We don't profess to be therapists, psychotherapists, you know, anything along those lines. What the invitation is with All In, with Saxony and I, is to join us on this journey for more, to open up another door. Not ayahuasca. But, you know, hey, that might be down.
We're blending the journey words.
That might be, you know, somewhere down the road. But it's the invitation to
go to Costa Rica.
Yeah, it's the invitation to another level in your marriage, another level in your relationship. And that's what I'm most excited about with this, is knowing that, hey, if this vibes with you, great. If this doesn't vibe with you, great. But I'm thrilled by marriage. I'm thrilled by the opportunity of marriage. I'm thrilled by what we're doing. And it excites me to think, like, when you're talking about there's levels and doors, we haven't found the edge of the universe, right? How far can we go? And it's kind of like every time we have great sex and we talk about great sex, like, it's kind of like, where can we take this? Like, what else is there to do? But there always seems to be this next level to it. We go and we have these conversations and we have connection, and then we take it to a completely new level, and you're like, okay, this is euphoria. This is it. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh shit, that was so old school and so last year. There's like this never-ending experience of growth, never-ending experience of depth. It's kind of like Alice in Wonderland. You remember, like, and she's walking towards the door, and it just keeps going, and it's getting smaller and smaller, but it just keeps going and going and going. That's how I view this. That's how I view this experience. And so All In for us is literally living that life together, choosing this life together and understanding like there is no bottom to this rabbit hole, and we're just going to keep going and exploring.
I believe that God will give you whatever it is you want. Sean, you can't keep getting on your. I need
Go.
you to look at you guys. This is so funny. When I'm talking, he'll start getting on his
don't ever-
phone, and then I feel like I'm like, I don't know who I'm talking to. My ADD's checked in. Okay, I love you, darling. But here's what I truly believe with my whole heart is that when you ask for something, God's like, okay, here. That's why it's interesting, because a lot of the resistance we had leading up to actually launching this, not just talking about it, was every time we were like, okay, we're ready, God would be like, okay, here. And we're like, whoa, hold on.
Yep.
And it was like, okay, no, we're ready now. And be like, okay, here. And you're
Yep.
like, oh, whoa. And it was really cool to realize, I was like, oh, that's that thing happening, right? And so I believe that if you believe it's yours, this is the power of manifestation, all these things, but I believe that God's like, yes, it's already yours. You just have to step into taking it. Here, you want it? Here, it's yours. But most of us don't step forward in that, because that's, whoa, you know, it's like, and I've learned too, is with levels, is like, the more you level up, there's less and less and less people there. And so then it becomes like, oh, you know, oh my gosh, it's getting different and different and different. So then it's like a lot of people that we hang out with or converse with in life, they don't understand that level. So then it's like, oh, maybe I went too far. Maybe I should go, you know, and it's like that. But if you are so committed, especially with us and our marriage, and it's like having a life buddy, I say, we're like holding hands through this. So it's like there is no going back. We're climbing Mount Everest together, and it's so incredibly, it's so enriching and so satisfying, and so like I can't even, I look back sometimes and I'm like, wow, I am so glad I made all of those little tiny decisions, and I stayed and sat through things that were uncomfortable. So I broke through my own fears, my own walls, my own, you know, whatever it was that the reasons I hadn't stepped forward before. I'm so grateful. And I think that's part of it too, is like, we know that, and we love, like, we have a very strong, like, desire to see people win. And it's like having a Sherpa, a buddy, like, that's like, hey, like, this is, you're not like, this is, we're going to do this.
Yeah.
It's so rad. And we're really excited about it. I'm
Yeah.
really excited about it.
So that's what all in is to us, guys. Not just from a theoretical standpoint, but an actual practical standpoint. Is it's like it's our mantra. It's who we are. It's literally like the foundation of our marriage. And one of the things that we've felt really excited about and called to is like is deepening these conversations publicly with people and taking people on a journey that we've been on. And not saying that, again, that we have every answer or whatever else, but is it possible that there's more out there? And so if you're a couple that says, yeah, it's possible that there's more no matter where we are, then we invite you to jump on the train with us and join us. So with that said, we set up a website, seanandsax.com. It's just SEANANDSAX.com. And that is where you guys can opt into our email. And so we'll have all of the information, all of the details. That's really where we're going to be focusing on putting all of our information and communication with people on upcoming retreats, on date night with Sean and Sax, on our tour, our book, and everything else that we have going on. So if you're listening to this right now and you want to jump on that list, just go to seanandsax.com and we will get you enrolled in our updates. And we've set up, we've got our Instagram page and our Facebook page and everything else. And we've got a really cool team that we're assembling around us with this, that are also incredible couples that have been married for a while and have some very deep, rich relationships. So it's something that we're beyond excited about. But we felt really called and compelled the beginning of the year to let everybody know what we're doing, where we're going. And we think, for the most part, most people listen to this, us, number one, probably because we're very entertaining and funny and you're smoking hot, but because we talk relationships. And this is kind of our relationship show. Even though it's just the Sean and Sax show, we talk more about relationships than anything else. And so we're going to be talking about it even more. And we're going to be talking about All In even more and having really cool experiences around the globe for people that want to deepen and get more, have
Absolutely.
more, expand and grow. Anything else you want to share, babe?
No, I'm
We
glad.
talked
I'm
about
glad
it.
that you mentioned and the other couples involved, because we want to build a culture
Yeah.
in this that same what we're speaking of here and what we're speaking about and working with in our the retreats and everything. That the culture of everyone involved
Yeah.
is in alignment with that.
Yeah.
It's very important to us.
Yeah, being married is a sacred experience.
Yeah.
Having a relationship is a sacred experience. I mean, being alive is a sacred experience, but this is something that we take very, very seriously. And I think a lot of what we've done is led up to kind of this moment in time and this opportunity and this experience. And God's been calling us to this for a while. And it's one of those things where we're like, okay, we're in. Like, let's go. Let's make this happen. Even though we probably want to push it off and have a lot of reasons and a lot of thoughts and things. It's when we were in Cabo last week, it was one of those things where we sat, we're like, we're ready. Let's go. Like, it's time to do this. So anyways, go to seanandsax.com. We love you guys. We appreciate you. Obviously the podcast is going to keep going. The Sean and Sax show is going to keep going, but this is a unique experience and opportunity for married couples. So if you're a married couple, doesn't matter where on the spectrum you're at. If you're awesome and want to be even more awesome, if you're not so awesome and you want to get awesome, if you guys are on the ropes and you feel like you need somebody to help like unravel some shit, then let's have a conversation.
Absolutely.
Cool. Okay, guys, seanandsax.com. Go over there, get opted in, and we will be in touch with you soon. Cheers.
Love you. Bye.